How's it going, YouTube? I'm back with another video, and this time with another deck profile. Last time I showed you my Abyss Actors, just because I wanted to show you one of my favourite decks of all time. This time I wanted to show you a deck that I've been playing relatively a lot recently, since I've been having a lot of fun with it, plus the Link Monster came out, and there's some other things that I've been doing for this deck, which I might show you once I get done, since it will be quite a unique thing for the channel. But I won't reveal anything now, but I might do later on. But I wanted to show you my deck profile of this, because it can make the Link Monster really easily, and I just really like the new Link Monster, Curious. Plus, Minerva is just amazing artwork and an amazing card, so I wanted to make this a pure Lightsworn deck that just can make plays. It's not as good as Zombie Lightsworn. I don't really class Zombie Lightsworn as a Lightsworn deck though, because you run hardly any Lightsworns. But this can make plays. It can do really well. I was doing test hands for this before I made the deck profile, because I wanted to make sure I made it as good as I could. And I was going through test hands, one of them that came up, I think during my third try, and I managed to do this a couple times, but the third try was the better one, where I made the Link Monster Curious, Minerva, Proxy Dragon, Crystal Wing, and Abyss Dweller, and I had an Effect Veiler in my hand, so I managed to go really ham in one of my tests, and this deck can go pretty ham quite easily. So without further ado, I'll let you know what cards I run in my pure Lightsworn deck. To start off, 3 Judgement Dragon, since it is your boss monster. It cannot be normal summon / set. It must be special summon from your hand when you have 4 or more Lightsworns with different names in your grave, which is not hard at all. So it's essentially a free summon all the time. I hardly struggle to summon this card. And a non-once per turn effect to pay 1,000 life points and destroy all other cards in the field. So you use a board wipe, and even if your opponent stops it, you can just do it again. So it's just an amazing card. During your end phase though, you send the top 4 cards of your deck to your graveyard. You must control him face up though to activate this effect. Don't know why it's put that as wording, in case people maybe cheesed it off, I don't know. But yeah, 3 Judgement Dragon. Next is 1 Punishment Dragon, since this card can recycle things from your grave and banished, and your opponent's grave and banished back to the decks. So must be special when you have 4 or more different named Lightsworns in the banished, and you can pay 1,000 life points quick effect once per turn to return all face-up banished cards and all cards in the graveyard that are not Lightsworn monsters back into the deck. So it just helps get things back into the deck so you don't deck out. I only run 1 since I don't want to see it too much, but he is extremely helpful. He's got 3,000 attack, and if another Lightsworn monster activates its effect, you can send the top 4 cards of your deck to the grave. Now for the Lightsworn monsters. Run 3. Hand of the Lightsworn, Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. So he's a tuner. During your main phase, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. This is a hard once per turn effect, but he makes your plays go. He also gains 200 for each Lightsworn you mill with this effect till the end of the opponent's turn, but that's not important. And during the end phase, sends top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. So Raiden is a 3 of no matter what. He just helps start your plays. Next, I run 2 Lila, since one of my friends plays quite an annoying spell that I don't want to deal with, so Lila targets a spell on the field, changes her battle position, and destroys it. And then also during the end phase, sends the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. So just gets rid of annoying spell traps. Next I run 2 Lumina, since Lumina can get things back from the grave in case you maybe milled a Raiden off of Reasoning, because your opponent will usually call 4 in this deck since you run a lot of level 4s, but if you get Lumina off of that, you can then use Lumina to get back the Raiden from your grave if you didn't have one or something. I don't know. But I have done stuff like that with this card. It can help continue if you have all 3 Raidens in the grave and then you draw this, you can just still continue. So, like I said, discard 1 card to special summon 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn in your grave, and during the end phase, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. Next, I run one Minerva, the Lightsworn Maiden. Minerva, when normal summon, can add a light dragon from your deck to your hand that has a level equal to or less than the amount of Lightsworn monsters in your grave. But you don't use it for that. You use it for the effect of when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. So that's from anywhere, so you can discard her and stuff like that. So great card. I don't want to see it too much though. Next, 3 Wolf, since Wolf is extremely useful. It can be Foolish Burial, it can be just, as long as it's sent from the deck to the graveyard, you can special summon it from the grave. And none of that summoning effect is once per turn. None of the graveyard summoning effects apart from Trick Clown are once per turn. So you definitely have to run 3 Wolf because you want to be seeing this guy as much as you can. Next, I run 3 Felis. Most people only run 2. But I want to see these like milling effects to summon themselves as much as possible. Felis isn't as good as Wolf, but I still find her extremely useful since she can still be summoned if you like get a Wolf and a Maiden, or a Wolf and a Felis off of your Raiden effect, or off your Minerva effect, or off your Curious effect. There's just so many ways to get this card in the grave. It's no longer as bad, and if it's in your hand, you can banish it with Snow. Or you can discard it with Solar Recharge. There's so many things to just get rid of the card if you don't want it. Now, when it's on the field, though, you contribute it, destroy one of your opponent's monsters, and then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. So she also has an effect that Wolf doesn't have. Wolf has 2100 attack, but she can destroy cards. So you can destroy monsters. Next, 3 Fairy Tale Snow, since Snow is extremely useful. When you have her in the graveyard, you can banish 7 cards either from your field, hand, or grave, and then summon her back from the grave. That's not once per turn. And when she's summoned, normal or special summoned, you can target one monster your opponent controls and put it face down. Quick effect as well. All of it's a quick effect. Next, I run 2 Trick Clowns, since when I do mill cards, I really want to get those extra summons. It's how the deck plays, so I run 2 Trick Clown just to maximise that kind of possibility. Trick Clown is once per turn, but that's why I only run 2. I don't want to run 1 because I won't see it ever, but I don't want to run 3 because I'll see it too much, so I thought just 2 was alright. I see this card plenty, so definitely a really useful card. Because when she's sent to the graveyard from anywhere, you get to summon him back by paying 1000 life points. Next, I run 2 Photon Thrasher, since it's a light monster that can summon itself, so that helps summoning your Curious, since Curious requires 3 light monsters with 3 monsters with the same type but different names, different types, like monster types. So you need like a Warrior Spellcaster and a Beast Warrior. So this card just helps get that special summon. It's level 4 too, so it helps with Nixie. And you just have to control the monsters. It's not like... I was running Cyber Dragon, but then Cyber Dragon was a bit dead since your opponent had to control a monster as well. And if I was going first, it was just dead in my hand. So I decided to go with Photon Thrash instead. Next I run 1 Glowup Bulb, since Glowup Bulb just is great in this deck. You can make a really easy Crystal Wing, and the mill has actually helped me a lot of times. When I've needed a Felis or something, I've milled a Felis with this card, and stuff like that. So, Glowup Bulb I definitely love running in the deck. And the final monsters is 3 Effect Veilers. Since hand traps are good in the game now, well, they're just dominating the game right now, so... An Effect Veiler is actually becoming people's more go-to hand trap. It's a light monster too, so you can use it for your like Link Summon, and plus it's not once per turn for its negation, and it's a level 1 tuner to go for Crystal Wing, so it's actually really useful in the deck, and I thought running a hand trap would be good, and I was thinking about running Ghost Ogre, but then Ghost Ogre was a bit bad since it's level, and so I found Effect Veil a bit more useful. So that's all the monsters. You do run a very high monster count, but it's kind of needed. For the spells, 3 Charge of Light Brigade, since Charge of Light Brigade sends the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave, and then adds 1 level 4 or lower Lightsworn monster from your deck to your hand. So this is not once a turn, and it's an extremely powerful card. You can't run less than 3 in a Lightsworn deck. Next, I run 2 Solar Recharge. I don't know if to put this to 3, since it is really useful, but at 2 I see it. I don't know what to take out if I was to put a third in. What this card does is you could discard a Lightsworn monster from your hand, draw 2 cards, and send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. I do find it useful, but I don't find it like needing to be a 3 of, so I've always ran 2 when I played this deck. Next is a few more draw cards, so I run Shuffle Reborn since it does have a graveyard effect. If I was to put a third Solar Recharge in, I would put it in instead of this, but Shuffle Reborn, if you have no monsters on the field, you can special summon 1 monster from your grave and negate its effects. And if it's in the grave, you can banish it, return 1 card you control to the hand, and then draw a card. Not to the hand, to the deck, and shuffle, and then draw 1 card. And then banish 1 card from your hand during the end phase. This card has actually helped me, like, maybe just get that extra draw I needed and stuff, so I run it. But I would say if you wanted to run the third Solar Recharge, put it instead of this. Next I run 1 Upstart Goblin. There's not many deck profiles that I don't put Upstart Goblin in, since it's just a nice card to have. The next cards are just 1-offs that I put in the deck. So I've got Double Summon. This card has actually been extremely useful when I've had it, so definitely love putting this in the deck. Reasoning, since it doesn't matter if the monster's sent to the graveyard in this deck, really. And if you get the free summon, great. So, Reasoning sends cards from the deck to the graveyard until the level that an opponent declared is revealed, and it has to be a normal summonable monster. So if they called 4 and Fellas gets revealed, you still have to keep milling until you get a normal summonable monster. So, I just like running Reasoning in this deck. It's helped me out every time I've activated it. 1 Monster Reborn, since if you have something in the grave and you've only got 1 Raiden and you milled a snow or something, you can Monster Reborn the snow that you need to make your Minerva. So I do really like Monster Reborn on the deck, and it's just a really good card. And the final spell is Foolish Burial, since you can send a snow off of it, you can send Glowup Bulb off it, you can send Wolf off it, you can send Trick Clown off it. You just get so many pluses off of this card, so you have to run Foolish Burial. So 40 card main deck, a lot of monsters, and not many other, like, kind of, you've got, I think, 11 spells and 29 monsters. And for the extra deck, you run more Xyzs than anything. So to start off the extra deck, 2 Minerva, the Exalted Lightsworn, 2 level 4 monsters. You can detach Nixie Spamming from this card, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. If any of them were Lightsworn monsters, you can just draw cards from your deck equal to the number that you sent to the grave with this effect. If this card is also destroyed by battle or by opponent's card effect, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard and destroy cards in your opponent's field equal to the number of Lightsworn monsters you sent through this effect. So you can only use each effect once per turn, but the destruction effect doesn't target and just destroys, so it can get through a lot of things. Next is Utopia package, since it's just really easy to make in the deck and just really useful. For people that can't get Utopia the Lightning, I would say try running a few more Link monsters, since the deck can make a lot of Link monsters, like put Decode Talker in the extra deck and stuff, but if you have Lightning, do run it. Next is Dark Rebellion, since there are some monsters that Utopia can't get over because of the fact that you can't activate cards in the battle phase or something like that. So Dark Rebellion just gets over that monster. 1 Baguska, I usually find myself going in turn 1 with this card when I've got the Link monster, and then I summon Baguska. So definitely have to run Baguska in the Nixie Spamming deck. 1 Bujin Tsukiyomi. This card requires 2 level 4 light monsters, which is easy in this deck. And you can detach Nixie material, discard your entire hand, minimum 1 card, and draw 2 cards. And the other effect you can't activate in this deck, but you use it for the draw effect, and this draw effect has actually been really helpful, because it got rid of a dead Fellas in hand. And then I draw a Judgement Dragon off of it, so definitely like running this card. 1 Abyss Dweller, since Abyss Dweller can stop hand traps, so you can go turn 1. That's what I did with the Crystal Wing Abyss Dweller thing that I did, which was a crazy field. But yeah, 1 Abyss Dweller. 1 Gargaga Cowboy, because the amount of times that I was testing this with like my mates and that, they were left on like 400 life points, 500 life points, and I kept not being able to kill them, but I had the monsters to make a level 4, and I was like, I'm putting Cowboy in just so I can kill them, because I'm fed up with leaving them on low life points and then them beating me. So I put Cowboy in just to be that guy. And then I run 2 synchros, since you don't synchro summon much, but it's nice to have the option. So I run Michael, since Michael is a Lightsworn. He requires a tuner and non-tuner light monster. Once turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, target one card on the field, banish it. When this card is destroyed, you can target any number of other Lightsworn monsters in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and if you do, gain 300 life points for all the return cards you sent. So if you sent 10, you would get 3,000 life points. Once turned during the end phase, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to your grave. And then Crystal Wing, everyone knows what Crystal Wing does. You run it because you can make it easy in this deck. You usually go into Michael, banish card, then go into Crystal Wing. And the last 3 cards, I want to run more of this. If you have the Utopia package and you wanted a second one of this, which I do want to get a second one, remove Prime to put a second one in. So this is the new Lightsworn Link monster. Like I said earlier, it requires 3 monsters with the same attribute but different types. If this card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can target one card in your graveyard, add that target to your hand. You can only use it once a turn. If this card is link summoned, you can send one card from your deck to the grave, which is incredible. And also, right after that, if a card is sent to the graveyard, you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. So this card sends 4 cards on its own. It's absolutely nuts, and just allows this deck to go off so much. So I love this card. I wish I could run 2, but I don't have a second. The last 2 cards in the deck is Proxy Dragon, since it's easy to summon, and Underclock Taker, since this has actually been interesting when I've summoned it, because I'd summon it, make a Judgement Dragon there, and then use its effect, and just got over a big monster with Underclock, so I do like running Underclock. So that has been my Lightsworn deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Do test the deck out, since it's a lot of fun to play, and it can make some pretty nutty boards. And in general, it's just, I would say it's the comeback deck, because your opponent can get you low, and then you just get these perfect mills to end up just bringing out Judgement Dragon, blowing up everything, and going for game. It's definitely a lot of fun. The chance of like getting good mills and not getting good mills also makes it a lot of fun. Does make it a little inconsistent sometimes. That's why I tried to maximize on making sure I always get something off the mill. And it's not very it's very unlikely that you will like not get a good mill off of the cards anymore. There was a time when I was testing out the deck and it just wasn't doing anything, but this is definitely the most consistent I've made it. If you guys enjoyed this deck profile, please stick around for more videos. I'm trying to upload weekly. I've been keeping that up for, I think, nearly 2 months now, and I'm actually quite proud of myself on that. Also, thank you guys for the amazing amount of support on some of my other deck profiles. The updated version of my Pedal Plant deck profiles hit over 1,000 views, which is, again, bloody nuts. And the first one is nearly hit 2,000, which is also bonkers. And my Zodiac deck profile, which is one of the my favourite decks I've ever built, top 5 for definite, along with Lightsworn, Shadol, Abyss Actors, and that. So, and Gargagar. Those are my top 5, by the way. And so, and yeah, that's nearly hit 1,000 too. So I'm absolutely baffled how much support I'm getting with those. But please stick around if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next video.